Okay. Welcome everyone to a virtual NCS Fest. I'm T. FOUGNER. I am the Editorial Director for Comics Kingdom and King Features. And I'm here today with the Six Chicks to talk about the 20th anniversary of the Six Chicks. So today we have our Monday chick, Isabella Bannerman. Unfortunately, Tuesday chick, Bianca Eunice, could not be with us. She's feeling a little bit under the weather. So hi, Bianca, we miss you. We have our Wednesday chick, Susan Camilleri Konar, our Thursday chick, Mary Lawton, our Friday chick, Maritza Petrinos, and our Saturday chick, Stephanie Pirro. So everyone, just to get started, congratulations. It's a big anniversary for Six Chicks. It's 20 years. For those of you who don't know Six Chicks, you can read Six Chicks every day on comicskingdom.com. And I would love for each of you to introduce yourselves to everybody listening and tell everybody a little bit about how long you've been with Six Chicks. So Isabella.
Hi everybody, my name is Isabella Bannerman and I've been with Six Chicks since it started in 2000. And that's where I first met Stephanie, and we met at the World Trade Center at the Rubens when it was there at the World Trade Center.
Wonderful. And as I said, Bianca Eunice, our Tuesday chick, could not be with us tonight. So we're gonna talk to Susan next.
Hi, I'm Sue Camilleri Konar. I cover Wednesdays. Brendan brought me on probably at the end of 2016 when Rena left for Orange Pastures, and I have been with you guys since then.
Wonderful. And Mary.
Hi everybody, I'm Mary Lawton. I jumped on board with Six Chicks in 2017 when Ann Gibbons retired. I was asked by all the Six Chicks if I would join, and I was delighted because I've known about them for pretty much since their inception. And back in the 80s, I remember being alongside Stephanie, possibly Isabella, in the funny times. So I've known about several of the cartoonists since I was starting out myself in the 1980s. So happy to be with y'all.
Fantastic. Maritza.
Hi, I'm Maritza. I do Fridays, and I'm by far the newest member of this team who's here personally, besides Bianca, because I started at the beginning of 2019.
Welcome, Maritza.
Thanks.
Is this your first time seeing everybody's faces?
We had a call, I think, right after I was hired, but I don't think we've talked since that, really.
Wow. And last but not least, Stephanie.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Pirro. I am one of the original Six Chicks along with Isabella. I remember Jay calling me up and asking me if I wanted to be one of the chicks. I had previously been syndicated with Chronicle Features and then Universal with a single panel. And when Universal dropped my panel, Jay seemed to know everything that was going on, and he called me right up and he said, "Oh, I see you were renewed. Would you like to be part of a new concept?" And so I've been part of the whole ride.
Wonderful. It's fantastic to have all of you here with us today. And it's just so cool to see so many folks who've joined at different periods in the Six Chicks inception. So I would love to know a little bit about, I know each of you joined very differently and under different circumstances. Love to know a little bit about why you wanted to join, when you first heard about Six Chicks, what was it that really spoke to you, and what does it mean to you to be a part of the Six Chicks now?
Well, for me, one of the things that was really exciting about it was that I knew that Jay Kennedy's mission was to increase the diversity of the comics pages, and I knew that he made it his business to find underground cartoonists, and he had a great love of underground and independent cartoonists, and that was a world that I sort of considered myself part of, and still do, because my other work is for a political comic book called World War III Illustrated. So just knowing that he had that interest and that enthusiasm made me happy about it. And the other reason I was excited is that some of us had already been approached and already been published by the humor writer Roz Warren, and she would put together comic cartoon collection paperback books, and they were always heavily female cartoonists. And so I had an idea that there were a lot of us out there, and that we could have a lot of fun together. So it was a great opportunity, and I still feel that way.
Yes, if I can jump in. Yes, it was so exciting to know that Isabella was going to be part of the group, and I think Rena, a bunch of us had been in Roz's books, and this was before the internet or anything. So all of a sudden in Roz's books, you realize how many women were out there doing humor, you know, both written humor and a lot of cartoonists like Alison Bechdel, just so many people who have gone on to bigger careers, thanks to Roz. A little plug for Roz there. But yeah, you know, being asked by Jay, he said to me at the time when he was talking about the concept that it immediately doubled the amount of women who were syndicated at that time. And I think King went on to have the most women, you know, syndicated.
I was just going to say, when the opportunity came for me to join Six Chicks, I was pretty excited because, of course, I admired all of you guys and the previous cartoonists that were on this strip, and so I was kind of like, oh, this is pretty exciting, and plus I've always wanted to be syndicated. So, but I have to be honest, I've always been a little bit uncomfortable with the term a female cartoonist or a woman cartoonist, because I'm a cartoonist, you know, no matter what my sex is. However, I appreciate that Jay did create the strip for the reason of bringing more women into, you know, comic pages, especially at the time. So I completely understand that. And now with Bianca joining the team, the diversity of voices are expanding. So it's just getting better.
I'd like to say that I've never been syndicated before 2017. I've been a cartoonist, let's see, I'm 62 now. I probably started when I was about 20 years old. So never, I guess I tried 50 million times to become syndicated with no bites. I was self-syndicated for a while. Anyhow, when the opportunity came along in 2017, I jumped on board. I was literally thrilled to be part of a group of women cartoonists. I've known a lot of women cartoonists over the years, but as we all know, we don't get as much, you know, paper time, whatever you want to call it, airtime, as the male-dominated field. So it was really, it feels great to just be part of a group of really cool women that I admire.
Yeah. Growing up, I read a lot of newspaper comics, and it's always been a thing that I've loved and enjoyed. And when I was younger and I loved doing art, I had no idea what jobs there were out there for people who liked making art. Basically, newspaper comics was the only thing that was visible to me. So when I had the opportunity to do this, it was amazing, and I really wanted to do it because it felt like it was coming full circle to do the thing that I watched other people do, and I had no idea that jobs like this existed. I was very excited to be here, especially for a strip with a vision like this. And I agree with Susan about, I like to consider myself a cartoonist first and a woman somewhere else down the line, because in terms of priority. But if you read our comics, I think we can all agree, like, it's not about being women specifically. It's just more important to have the platform for women to have a voice.
Mm-hmm. Well said.
Thanks, everybody. So one of the things that's really unique about Six Chicks is that, you know, that really, we talked about a little bit about Jay Kennedy's mission, that he really wanted to double the number of syndicated women at the time, which is 20 years ago. And, you know, and I think he was successful in that, you know, for what he was trying to do in 2000. But, you know, in doing that, one of the really unique things that we don't talk about with Six Chicks as much is that it really created a collective. It's a comic where, you know, for all intents and purposes, everybody is writing and drawing under the same title, but that title is really, it's a different voice every single day. We're seeing a different voice, we're seeing a different perspective. And so I wanted to know a little bit about whether that influences any of you in terms of the kinds of cartoons you draw, or if it helps you, think about the place that you have within if it helps you to think about the place you have within Six Chicks when you're drawing.
I definitely feel like it's kind of like a conversation. It's kind of like having a conversation with your friends. And as I was looking at, getting ready for this, I was flipping through cartoons over the years, and I definitely started to see certain themes coming up. We do a lot of cartoons about witches and alien spacecraft and references to pop culture, and it's hard to put your finger on it, but there's definitely a Six Chicks vibe, and it's a little bit rebellious, and it's a little bit, it's hard to put my finger on it, but I know it when I see it, and and I think what it is, the bottom line for me is that we all have the freedom to express ourselves. We have the freedom to be editorial if we feel something strongly. We have the freedom to just be silly or sarcastic or use a word play. And to me, that's really valuable, just to have the freedom.
Yeah, I agree. And as for subject for myself, I know that we've targeted certain subjects for things like International Women's Day and bullying and the mental health awareness week. So those sorts of things working as a collective are pretty exciting. But then, as you were saying, Izzy, the sort of the freedom to be able to go off on this kind of a tangent where, you're playing with themes from everything from business to literature to education to just general life experiences. So that kind of freedom I completely appreciate. And being able to have these kind of collective moments where we are all working on one particular subject is, just kind of adds that little extra special something to the strip. So, but the fact that we do have the freedom and being able to see the variety of styles, and I find it really inspiring.
I'll go next. This is Mary. I just want to say that I draw political cartoons every day for the other publications that I send out to. So my mind's always on the pulse of what's the last thing that happened last night that I can draw about this morning. And with Six Chicks, it's so, I do it once a week, but we have to think way far ahead. Like right now I'm drawing for October. So I really can't do anything that's happening right now. So I'm either thinking of just a gag a day to make somebody laugh, or something about pop culture, or anything really that's happening in my life. Like if my kids are doing something, I'll immediately put it into a cartoon. So it's just kind of nice to have these different categories of cartoons to draw. There's the Six Chicks, there's the political, there's the whatever's, all the other things floating around. So I enjoy that.
And what I do is kind of social commentary, I guess you would say, but I play around a lot with pop culture. But it was very hard to ignore what's going on. I thought originally, when we first had the stay-at-home orders, what do I do? Do I comment on this? We work so far ahead. But I've continued to do a lot of things about masks or isolation or Zoom meetings. And, I try to do them in not a confrontational way, but in a way that is kind of, poking fun at things, but, also commenting on what is going on. And, it's hard not to, I think. So that's personally me.
Agreed.
Oh,
go ahead.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, please. Please go ahead.
Okay. I was just going to say that I really like the fact that we are each sharing the week together. It's a nice challenge because we don't really have the opportunity to develop storylines or narratives or characters or that kind of thing. But it's also kind of liberating because you don't need to adhere to a style guide or anything like that. Every week, every day that you do can exist in its own little bubble, which feels really nice. And you can kind of tackle some subject for a while and then abandon it later, or you can allow yourself to be influenced by the other women that you're making comics with. It feels very malleable and flexible. I would say that a lot of my comics are about, it's really hard to think about. It feels weirdly self-conscious to suddenly think about what subjects you actually write about. I would say that I do some stuff on mental health and American health insurance and work and capitalism, just like everyday moments of irony and hypocrisy, but hopefully not in too depressing in a way. But there's also nothing beats a good comic about pets.
I also love everybody's style. I feel like everybody has such a unique style, and Maritza and Bianca brought in, you know, just such beautiful artwork and so different. So I really love their work. It's a really good team, I think.
Yeah, I concur. I think it's having such a variety of styles, it makes it that much more interesting, certainly. And yeah, agree.
Do you ever look at one of the other comics that one of the other Six Chix cartoonists has created and say, you know, do you ever feel like you're learning something from looking at your colleagues' cartoons? You know, is there ever a moment where like, oh, I love how that person drew this? Or, you know, oh, I never thought of doing that. If you can think of some, I think it would be great to hear some of those stories.
Oh, that's definitely happened. I feel like I've been influenced over the years, so in so many ways, consciously and unconsciously. And you know, one of my favorite ones of Rena's, this was like easily 10 years ago. But it showed a group of co-workers in an office, and they were all playing solitaire. And the caption was, oh, you know, the computers are down, so we have to do everything by hand. And just in a topic, like as soon as one of the Six Chicks breaks ground on a new topic that I had never seen somebody do before, like, you know, even if it's depression or bullying or some kind of topic that I might have self-censored myself with, and then somebody does a cartoon about that, and then your horizons have expanded, you know. And I think that's something that we all do for each other, whether we do it consciously or not.
I think that's true. Susan's cartoon made me really laugh, though, the one, Beware of God. I just thought that was so simple and so clever and beautifully drawn. It's one of my all-time favorite cartoons. I just love it. And of course, Isabella is like a master, you know, draftsperson. Your work is just so exquisite. So I think everybody brings something different.
Yeah, Mary, I was just going to actually compliment your line work.
Well, thank you.
I love your art. I've always admired it. So just talking
Thanks.
about line work, you know, I think just bringing you and Steph's lines, your these organic, wonderful, crazy lines just make me laugh all the time. And then we have that, you know, the exquisite art of Maritza that is just beautiful. I don't even know how to explain her brushwork and line work too. And then of course Bianca now with her creative, wonderful characters, and just her style is very different. And you know, Isabella's, as you said, her beautiful draft work. It's just that variety to me is a real bonus with this strip. And I'm excited to read each one each day just to sort of see, oh, what's coming to the table. So back to you, Mary.
I feel the same way. I was going to say the same things. And going back to what Isabella said about all of us sort of paving the way, or when we see what somebody else has done, it's like, oh, like when Bianca did that cartoon that got so much controversy a week or two ago, I was like, woohoo! I was so happy to see that cartoon, and I was like, how many times have I wanted to draw something like that? And I thought, you know, I would get, I don't know, I draw stuff like that in my other life, you know, my other cartoon life, but I thought it was really cool that it was on Six Chix, and I thought it was awesome the way that King supported her, and we were all just like behind her cheerleading. It was a really great moment. And I'm a Luddite in terms of like, I'm not on Facebook, I'm only on Instagram. So I don't get to see the daily stuff on Facebook, which I think probably has a lot of viewers and whatnot. But I always look on the Comics Kingdom website every day to see what everybody's cartoon is each day. And then I'll often email somebody, there's the cartoon. I'll often email whoever it is to say, you know, cool cartoon today, awesome, whatever. So yeah, I love looking at everybody else's work. It feels wonderful.
Great, thank you. So, so we talked a little bit, Mary, you've talked a couple times about some of the other work you do in your political cartoons. And I was just wondering, you know, obviously everybody who draws for Six Chix, you're just doing one cartoon a week. I'd love to hear a little bit more about the other types of work you do. Everybody here is a very accomplished cartoonist outside of Six Chix and does some really cool stuff. And, you know, and I think hearing about what you do either in cartooning or other creative work that you're working on, I think would be pretty exciting to the audience.
So I'll go first. And the one long-term project that I still am hoping to develop further, I've had 2 chapters of it published, is that when Donald Trump was first elected, my mom kind of freaked out. She's still alive because she remembered Mussolini, and all the stories of growing up under Mussolini came out of her, stories that I'd never heard before, and I started illustrating them. And you know, I'm still working on transcribing and illustrating some of the stories as they're coming out, but they were published in a political cartoon comic book called World War III Illustrated, and they've been kind of a voice of resistance since the Reagan era, and it's been really interesting to be a part of them. And you know, and I have felt the same kind of divide between like what you would do for a family comic strip like Six Chix and what I would do in that realm of like activism. But it's really exciting now to see that that boundary go away, and that's really wonderful. Like I don't have to compartmentalize those 2 parts of my life anymore, and mostly with the you know, with the recent with Maritza and with Bianca and Mary as well, because I follow you on Instagram, Mary, and I see your great political work, which is very very free. You don't censor yourself at all. Yeah.
Right.
Susan, tell us a little bit about what you're up to.
Well, I still do my freelance work. That's kind of where I started off with my cartooning. I used to sell a lot of work to all the magazines that were buying at the time, like Harvard Business Review and Barron's and Wall Street Journal and Alta and Chronicle of Higher Education and Business Law Today and all those wonderful markets that were there. So I still kind of, when I could find those, I still sell to them. And you know, I've done some guest work for Hillary on Rhymes with Orange, and I've written gags for other syndicated cartoonists. And recently I just jumped into the greeting card market. So I'm hoping that will give me some other opportunities there. And then there's always that side of illustration work. So I've done illustration for advertising, editorial, and educational clients. And a couple of children's books. One was kind of a sort of not self-published by myself, but by the author. And one through Scholastic Education, I believe. So I'm kind of interested in maybe veering off into that world at some point too, a little bit more so. But yeah, so outside of that, you know, I'm still doing cartooning, and then I'm hoping to get back into painting more too, which I used to like to do. So, but
Wow.
only so many hours in a day.
That's a tremendous lot of stuff. That's amazing. Mary, so tell us where we can find your political cartoons and anything else that you're working on.
I'm on Instagram. You can just look up my name and then you'll find my little handle, whatever, hashtag, and you'll see my page there. And I tend to keep the page pretty thin. I just, when it starts to get too many cartoons, I shave a bunch off, but I stay pretty topical. So all the stuff that's up there is pretty recent. And I publish in the Funny Times, in Narrative, the New Yorker occasionally. Ever since Emma Allen became the editor at the New Yorker in 2017, she ushered in a huge gaggle of women cartoonists for the first time in like 100 years. So I was one of them. I was lucky to get in there, and it's a wonderful new face on that magazine, I'll tell you, and all these new young cartoonists and cartoonists of color, which we really never saw before in the history of that magazine. So that was another thing that happened in 2017, along with getting syndicated with the Chicks. But I've always cartooned, as I say, since the 80s. Illustrated a bunch of books. I was in those Roz Warren books also, the, what were they called? I forgot what they were called.
Women's
Somebody
Glibber.
jump in. What were they called?
Women's Glibber.
Women's Glibber books and calendars and all that stuff. Yeah, I was in those for years. And yeah, and anything that came along, basically I would just do anything freelance. Yeah, anybody wants anything. You want to hit family portraits, whatever, I did all that. And then I started painting again when I had little children running around. Cartooning got a little hard, so I just started painting again, and I do that almost as much as I cartoon. I love to paint. So yeah, I'm not really a computer savvy cartoonist. I do everything by hand. I send everything, well, I send emails out with my cartoons. That's about as sophisticated as it gets. But yeah, I draw every day. I send daily cartoons to the New Yorker almost every day. They've got the daily political cartoons, so that's really fun because I get to think about every night before I go to bed, so to think about that. And yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at.
Great. Maritza, what are you up to when you're not doing Six Chicks?
Good question. I've been like a career illustrator for 10 years, which is probably like a baby in comparison to these Goliaths of cartooning, but I've jumped around a lot. So I've done design, I've done illustration and animation. I kind of jumped around to started at Marvel, and then I went to MTV for a while, and like I worked at BuzzFeed for a number of years doing primarily comics, and as of the beginning of quarantine, I'm a full-time designer at an app called TikTok, working in their marketing division. I think I probably, like so many other people, have had to pivot a little bit since the beginning of COVID. So I feel like I'm doing everything that's unprecedented for me, but it's been really great to have this still here as a constant.
So did they make you dance in the marketing department?
Thankfully, no, nobody wants that. I don't want that.
And finally, again, last but not least, Stephanie, tell us a little bit about what you're doing when you're not doing Six Chicks.
Oh, I do, well, you know, I work in a library. I've worked in libraries for, let's see, since 2002. My daughter went to college, and I used to go into the library to get magazines for research. And one day I went into the library, the one in my town, and they said, oh, we have an exhibit. Maybe you'd like to go see the exhibit. And I thought, oh, sure, I'll go see the exhibit. And they said, oh, wait, we're interviewing. And then they looked at me and they said, how would you like a job? So all of a sudden I became a librarian, and I loved it. I still love it. And I work 20 hours a week. That's why I do so many literary and, you know, cartoons about reading, cartoons that make fun of certain kinds of literary tropes. So, you know, I do that. I write actually 2 columns. I write the town column and I write a library column. So I don't have a lot of spare time. I never say no to anything that comes my way art-wise. So I've recently illustrated 2 books for, she's an award-winning cat writer. And her books are about a Scotty and a cat. So I'm gonna be doing a whole series for her. I did 2 so far. And, you know, anything that comes my way. I had started in 2014 and actually finished a children's book that has to do with some owls. But I just hate coloring on Adobe so much. Anything that gets in the way, I still haven't colored those last 6 pages. And once I get that colored, I'll be sending it out. But basically, you know, I just never say no, any kind of art that comes my way. I started out, before I was ever published as a cartoonist, doing t-shirts. So I started doing t-shirts and putting my cartoons on them because I couldn't get published back then. They just weren't publishing women's humor. But when I started going around to craft shows, women would come around the table and laugh, and it was like humor that spoke to them. And so I kind of came into cartooning through the back door. I started to win design awards for the humor categories in the textile industry, and then I started getting licensed to calendar and card companies, and I think I sold my first cartoon to Glamour. So these days, I sold to Chicken Soup for a long time too before they dropped the cartoons. So these days, I think there are less markets, and at this point, I'm not like sending out a lot of things to Funny Times or places. You know, I love Six Chix, so I'm happy to be doing that, and then, you know, illustrating or whatever.
Wow. We just have like, it's so amazing. We have such a tremendous number of incredibly accomplished people drawing for Six Chix. And obviously Bianca's not here. I don't want to leave her out. Bianca, you know, I discovered Bianca's work on the Nib. She's done a number of really brilliant essays for the Nib and other cartoons for the Nib. But, you know, but you can also find Bianca on her social media. She's, you know, frequently doing, she's always drawing, and she does some really phenomenal cartoons as well. So, you know, if you want to look up Bianca's work, her Twitter and Instagram handles are both Bianca Eunice. That's BIANCAXUNISE. You know, definitely look up her work while you're looking up all these fabulous ladies' work as well. You know, it's just it's so amazing to see this much talent spread across all of these different interests and art categories. It's just phenomenal, you know, really phenomenal. So it's been 20 years, and first of all, I feel like we owe a hearty congratulations to Stephanie and Isabella, who've been here since the beginning. It's just such a tremendous accomplishment. But I think, you know, I think we've seen an incredible change in what cartooning looks like and what comics look like in the past 20 years. And, you know, I wanted to sort of, as we move toward wrapping up, I wanted to ask all of you, you know, as we move into the future, where would you like to see Six Chix go in order to really fulfill Jay Kennedy's mission? Does that mission change now? You know, what does Six Chix have yet to accomplish, and what do you feel like publishers, syndicates, and organizations like the NCS can do to elevate the voices of women and other marginalized people? Because that was really what Jay Kennedy set out to do, and I think 20 years in, it's time for us to look at what we can be doing better and what we can be doing more of.
I think thank you for, first of all, thank you for asking that question. And I have to realize just in the last moment of you speaking, T, when you were mentioning that you discovered Bianca Eunice by looking at the Nib, to me, it's almost coming full circle to Jay Kennedy's attitude of seeking out the underground cartoonists and the less well-known cartoonists. And so I think you're definitely in that attitude of seeking out lesser known voices. You are definitely fulfilling that his original mission just by doing that. And yeah, and I think that's the direction it should keep going, where you know, the opportunities and the platforms continue to expand. One of the other things that I mean, I came to cartooning from reading, you know, the underground comics, so that I keep going back to that. That's why, but my frame of reference. But what you see in Bianca's work and some of Maritza's work and all of our work, you see that some of it is really autobiographical, right? And it's so direct. There's no filter between the artist and what they're writing about. And to me, that's if that's something that can be supported, where people feel that they can be truly themselves in their work, that's what I like to look for.
Well, I guess that's me.
It's you, Susan.
Obviously I'd love to see our audience expand. I know we're limited in our sort of formats with the whole industry changing, but I think with this such a, you know, so many styles and diverse voices and everything, there's a lot more opportunities for the strip to fit into different categories and different possible fields, and that includes working with organizations like we have with specific, you know, goals in mind, or even, you know, in a commercial capacity of some sort, where the strip is, you know, being used in a sort of an ethical way, but you know, if there are any other possible commercial capacities with the strip that we could work towards, including merchandising the strip. And I you know, I beg to say even small animated possibilities that I know takes us off in a completely different tangent, but you know, I think Isabel spoke well to sort of the direction of Jay's vision, and unfortunately I never had the pleasure of meeting him, but I think with, yeah, exactly what Isabella said about, you know, bringing beautiful young voices that are diverse and sort of moving on from what the script originated with Maritza and Bianca, I think it's certainly going in a great direction. So, but yeah, I you know, there's lots of new possibilities out there. So I think we just got to keep our finger on the pulse, so to speak.
Hi, this is Mary. I totally agree with everybody's comments. I'm so proud to be part of King Features because of the way, I mean, when I made my healthy living at cartooning for many years, and then all of a sudden everything just started folding. Newspapers started closing down and syndicates started shaving off everything. And pretty soon, you know, I mean, I publish in a few different things, whereas it used to be lots and lots and lots. So King Features seems to be on the pulse, like Susan said, of taking this to the future in terms of technology. Like even the fact that we're having this meeting on Zoom is pretty cool. I just want to keep stay a part of this whole thing that keeps moving into the future and changing with the times. I don't know how else to better put it, but I think that we have a lot to look forward to. Comedians never stop making jokes. Cartoonists have been around for thousands and thousands of years. You know, you never stop drawing if you're a cartoonist, and people never want to stop seeing them. So anyway, onward. Woohoo!
And I agree with what everybody has said. I think it's interesting. One of the platforms I guess we have now is MSNBC. Does it like stream or something? Because somebody contacted me, or actually a couple of people have contacted me and asked me for, you know, a copy of the cartoon, or that had seen them there. So I was like, oh, okay. So that's new.
Yeah, Six Chicks is on the MSN network every single day now. So,
Yeah, so
yeah,
people
it's
are
pretty
paying
exciting.
attention.
Yeah, yeah. Maritza,
Hi, yeah. Um, I pretty much agree with everything that was being said. I mean, I think part of it is definitely the technological aspect and finding the platform and distribution method for our work to reach the kind of people that I think would really like it. Because I know they're out there and maybe they not necessarily haven't seen it yet. I also, it's clearly a very different era, but I also come from an indie comics, underground comics scene, and that's usually where you find the best talent. Finding like young, scrappy, angry people who, really want their voices to be heard is usually where the best art comes from. One thing that I was thinking, thinking about Isabella's project that she's working on with her mother, and finding Bianca on the nib. I think all 6 of us would definitely love the opportunity to write something longer to put more of our voice into it. Hi, Kat.
It's pigeon.
yeah. Yeah, I think that I think that it's been like a tremendous 20 years. I've, certainly I've been around for a little more than half of it, and it's been amazing to watch Six Chicks over the last decade. I do think that I in my position now, I ask myself a lot, well, okay, if Jay Kennedy were doing this today, what would he be doing? Would he be looking at trying to expand opportunities for cartoonists of color? Would he be trying to expand opportunities for trans and non-binary cartoonists? Would he be looking at, okay, would he be looking at the way that women were and frankly still are marginalized in cartooning? There's not a lot of space in papers. There's not a lot of space for women's voices in papers. And, would he be asking, okay, who else is marginalized? Who else do we need to hear more from? And, and I think that's one of the things that I would hope to see from, certainly not just Six Chicks, but from everyone in comics in the future, is really looking to identify those voices and find ways for all marginalized cartoonists to have a place where they can be heard, even if it's once a week, and really bring those voices and messages and experiences to everyone. So thank you all so much for being part of this today. I think it's been a really fascinating conversation. I learned a lot. And before we go, I'd love for each of you to tell the audience where they can find you on social media, and about any other Six Chicks projects that you'd like, so, and other non-Six Chicks projects that you'd like support from. I'll tell everybody where they can find Six Chicks at the end, but if you've got a book or a Patreon or anything like that that you'd like to plug, this is the time to do it.
Well, I have to say, Tina, it's just very inspiring to hear you and to hear what you care about, and I'm totally in agreement. So if we need to do some brainstorming off camera, I'm up for it. And then, but what I wanted to say is the publisher that's been publishing these World War III illustrated, the longer version of the story, the name of the publisher is AK Press. And my social media stuff is usually just my name, either Bannerman or Isabella Bannerman.
Great. And then, as I said before, if you want to find Bianca, she is on Twitter and Instagram at Bianca Eunice. That's BIANCAXUNISE. I really encourage you all to check out her social media and give her a follow. And Susan.
Well, I haven't quite come into the world of Instagram and Twitter yet, simply because I am upgrading my systems, and I'm hoping when it's a little more user-friendly, I will move into those markets. But I do have a susancam.ca website. You can check out some stuff, and I'm on Facebook, either with Six Chicks or under my name, Susan Camilleri Konar. I've also got a lot of my cartoons that I've done freelance now with cartoon collections at bank that Bob Mankoff has started and has moved with the British cartoon bank. Anyway, a lot of them are there, and they're under my name too, Susan Camilleri Konar. So yeah, that's it for me right now, but I'm soon to be on definitely Instagram.
Great. Mary.
Okay, so I forgot a couple of things. You can find me on the Nib also. They ran a cartoon of mine, I think in 2016 or 2017 when Trump was being elected or was elected. And also in the Cartoon Bank, you can look me up and find me there. And I'm on Instagram, as I say, just look up Mary Lawton and you'll find me. And I want to say how much fun this was to meet you, T, to see Maritza, and to like, you know, I don't know, I'm not going to draw cartoons about like kill all fascists, but it really makes me feel like I can be a little more myself. I don't know why. I just really feel like I had a little bit of a holding back, you know, in the little box, but so much can happen in a little box. And it's just a great feeling to meet all of you. And thanks very much.
Thank you. Maritza, where can people find you?
I guess the big one for me is Instagram. If you look up Maritza Petrinos, I'm the only one that exists, so it will be very easy. I have a small illustrated humor book that came out last year with Chronicle Books, if you would like to purchase something that I'm proud of. And same thing with Patreon, if you feel like giving me a tip every month.
What's the name of your book?
It's called Common Blessings, Common Curses, and it's a reversible book you can flip upside down.
Great. And Stephanie?
I have a website which is under my name, but I actually don't do too much with it anymore. I mostly, I have a book review blog called The Militant Recommender. So I do an illustration per book review. Then I also have a cartoon blog. So those are both on Blogger under my name. I guess you can find them that way. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, Twitter sometimes. Twitter is kind of hard to do for me somehow. And Six Chix, Comics Kingdom, and Six Chix Facebook.
Great, thank you. And for all of you who've tuned in today and would like to read Six Chix, you can find Six Chix at comicskingdom.com. You can also find Six Chix in your local paper. And if you can't find Six Chix in your local paper, you can write to your local paper and tell them that you want to find Six Chix in your local paper. So you can also check out Comics Kingdom on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Comics Kingdom. Very easy to find. Thank you all so much for being here today. It's been great chatting with all of you, and thanks to the NCS for hosting us. Have a great day.
Thank you so much.
Yay.
Thanks, everyone.